A lot of you guys ask what goes on behind the scenes on the videos we shoot on eMBN. Now, as you'll know, luckily for us, we get to ride some amazing bikes in some beautiful parts of the world. So today, I thought I'd change it up and have a behind the scenes pre-vid look at the new giant Trance Elite. The new Trance Elite has some great features and detail, but one of those transcends all others. And that is that this bike, according to Giant, is the lightest full power e-mountain bike in the world. In a time when riders are increasingly torn about just what eMTB to buy, low power or high power, then this is actually a very important bike. So today, I'm going to take you through the facts to help you decide. So what am I going to do? Am I going to talk about wheel size, geometry, suspension? Nope. I'm going to cut through all that and get to the source of this bike. And that is the fact that this can actually be a high power eMTB or a low power eMTB, and that is a first. Now let's begin by saying the difference between a low to mid power eMTB and full power eMTB, mid travel bike that is largely in the battery capacity and associated weight. Low to mid assist bikes are around 19 kilos and a full power eMTB around 22 kilos. Not surprisingly, the bulk of that weight difference is often in the battery, a 360 watt hours weighing in about 1.8 kilos and a 630 watt hour double the weight at around about 3.6 kilos. As such, it can fully hang out with the lightweight eMTBs, and it could also be the lightest full power eMTB on the market. As I mentioned, this is arguably one of the most important eMTBs for some time. This bike can metamorphose between low power long range and a full power raging goat at the flick of a switch. And get this, it's just over 18 kilos. So I guess we have a pretty big story on our hands, right? But is that story just about weight? No, it's not. It's about the motor, the battery crucially, the travel of this bike, and also the componentry. It's also about the integration and the e-bike system. So let's look at some of the details of that. Okay, let's begin with the heart of the bike, which is the energy packed 400 watt hour battery, which is located in the down tube, super lightweight, 2.3 kilos. Now, Giant say it's the design of this battery and the unique e-bike cell, which is the only one on the market, that allows this bike to be able to run the high power 85 Newton meters, as well as, of course, the lower power 20 Newton meters. This groundbreaking new 22700 cell type, which is said to massively outperform most off-the-shelf batteries, has increased density, reduced weight, high volume, which enables it to run cooler. Number two is the Giant Sync Drive Pro motor. I'm very familiar with this, 85 Newton meters, 2.7 kilos, and one of the quietest Giant motors to date. Now, the cool thing about this, and this really is important, is the fact that you can customize the support levels on the bike from 50% to 400%. But get this, you can actually have more torque, say 85 Newton meters, or less torque. You can tune it down to 20 Newton meters. So you can actually have a bike with two personalities without the worry about having to buy two bikes. Okay, moving to the e-bike system, we've got the battery, the motor, and now the Giant Ride Control app. Now, as I mentioned, there is massive adjustability potential here. We talked about the support ratio, we talked about the torque, but also the fact that you can either have a bike which is low power long range or a bike which is more punchy and a little bit shorter range. Now, another feature is the launch control on this bike. Now, this dictates just how quickly you get the power in its most aggressive form. Once you stand on the pedals, within 0.1 of a second, it'll give you everything. So in those technical situations, it can really get you going quickly. Okay, folks, control time, which is number 4. You've got the Ride Control Go, which is the LED display on the top tube. It shows you the mode and also the battery level. And then moving up to the handlebar, Ride Control Ergo 3. You can have it on the left, you can have it on the right, or actually you can have two at the same time. So there you go. Those are the 4 key parts to the e-bike system that help you create that personality of e-bike. Some great detail, no doubt, but time now to ponder the initial question, which was, can you actually have a bike that can be both? So first of all, let's have a look at what both might actually look like. A lightweight eMTB, sub 20 kilos, lower power and a battery capacity of between 300 to 500 watt hours. And then of course you've got the standard eMTBs, around about 22 kilos, and a battery capacity of between 600 and 900 watt hours. So on screen now, I'm going to show you some of the main players in the lightweight and also the standard full power category. So I guess you could actually compare the motor on this bike to say an Orbea Rise, especially in terms of its shape and size and weight. However, this little beauty can be adjusted, whereas the bike from the Basque Country cannot. And then if we go to the lightweight eMTBs, such as the ones with TQ or Fazur motors, now they're going to be around about 900 grams lighter. However, what this bike can do is use the increased torque, the 85 Newton meters, to be able to get you up those super technical climbs. Then of course there are the super lightweights to compare to. For example, the Scott Lumen E-Ride is a fraction under 16 kilos. However, it is a 130mm cross-country bike, and you simply have to compare like to like. For example, you wouldn't contrast a cross-country to an enduro on MTB, so why would you on eMTB? So, is this bike two bikes in one then? Well, it would seem that way in terms of weight and with power. Now, one thing you have to take into consideration is the manufacturer's take on the component build, because some low power lightweight bikes are actually 20 kilos plus, which actually makes the lightweight motor a little bit void. The Giant Sync Drive Pro motor is about 900 grams heavier than the lightest mid-drive motor. Some people would argue that you cannot call a bike lightweight if the motor is almost 1 kilo heavier. Now let me just twist that weight thing just for a second, because if you consider it, you could actually have a difference of about 1 kilo in weight just by having different casing tires on an eMTB. I think Giant's vision of this bike is not just about the motor and the battery, it's about the system as a whole. I mean, for example, this dissector tire on the back with double down compound, it's a proper legit tire. And I think the great thing about this bike, in as much as it's one motor, it means that possibly Giant can keep the costs down when it comes to developing motors, but also, and I think this is the key part, is that riders don't have to be making big decisions on whether to get a lightweight, low power e-mountain bike or a full power one, and I think that is a big deal. So a great story, folks. I think we've established now that it can actually be two bikes in one, which is great news for so many riders out there. And the technology involved, that groundbreaking new battery system, it's one that can enable you to get 85 Newton meters as well as 20 Newton meters. But more than this, how does it handle? You guys want to know, what can it do? What can it handle out on the trail? So I think you'll see that my colleagues, the Don and Blake, have been out on this bike and the analog version to try and get a feeling of, you know, which bike should people try if you want to go from analog to eMTB. And I think this bike could be that bike. So what is it then? It's very much a trail bike, 140, 150, 29, 27.5 wheels in there. But more than this, I think we're getting to a place now where e-bikes have got their own geometry, such as the steep tube angle, the long chainstay on this bike. There's lots of other fine detail which I really want to touch on, which contribute to the whole package as well. And I think the first of these has got to be the Fox Live Valve. Now this is a incredibly adaptive system depending on the terrain you ride, and do you know what, I'm actually going to make a video just on Live Valve itself. Guys, there's lots of detail on this bike which I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of because they are well proven, such as the zip wheel set, the Maestro suspension. This has been around for many years. It's both sensitive and supportive, and it makes for a very lively bike. You've got Giant's own contact SLR handlebar there. You can adjust the roll of the bar and the reach of the bar. You can either have 40, 45 or 50. And remember, that's been designed specifically to reduce arm pump and make the bike more comfortable up front. And talking about comfort, remember there's adjustable geometry on this bike. You can have it slack and low, or you can have it steeper and higher. For me, it's low every day of the week. So I think in conclusion, Giant have created a lightweight eMTB without skimping on the parts like some brands might have done. It's got a burly fork, it's got big discs on there, it's got stiff sidewall tyre on the back. I think the live valve is going to be a really interesting story on this bike in which you can, the bike itself will do the thinking for you when you're out on the trail. There's probably lots of things which I've not talked about, folks, but please let us know your questions in the comments down below. More than happy to get involved in that. And yes, see you next time when we talk about the electronic suspension on the Giant Trance Elite.